video is going to review division without a calculator, and will lead students into activity 1.10, dividing numbers. Most students already have in their math dictionary a glue-in that looks like so and goes through the steps, not only with numbers but also with a little explanation off in the margin. So I want to show a couple of different ways in which a question can appear. 459 divided by 3 would be the same as having it appear 459 over 3. Or it could also be 3 into 459. In this case, our answer is always called the quotient. And the number, in this case the 3, that is doing the dividing is referred to as the divisor. And the one that is being divided into, in this case 459, is referred to as the dividend. And that's just some vocabulary that students need to refresh and make sure that they are remembering correctly. So we're going to use these numbers to demonstrate simple single-digit division. And we're going to ignore the other digits in our number. We're going to say, how many times does the number 3 go into the number 4? It goes in once. 1 times 3 gives us an answer of 3. So we transfer it down below. 4 take away 3 would leave us with 1 left over. We're going to bring down the 5 now, because if we have 1 left over and we have a 5, we in fact have 15. How many times does 3 go into 15? And we would say it goes 5 times. And 5 times 3, in fact, gives us exactly 15. And so 15, take away 15, we would have none left over. Again, we bring down the 9. How many times does 3 go into 9? It goes, in fact, 3 times. So we put a 3 up here. 3 times 3 gives us 9. 9, take away 9, gives us 0. And so if we wanted to, we could check this by taking 153 and multiplying, the opposite of division, by 3. And we should end up with what was under our division sign. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 1 is 3. Add the 1, and we end up with, in fact, 459. So we're going to continue by changing these numbers slightly by putting in some decimals. The first time I'm going to just put a decimal underneath the division sign. So I'm going to put 45.9, and I'm going to leave the 3 outside the division symbol. So we haven't really changed the question at all. We would go through the process exactly the same as we did for the last example, but our final step would be inserting a decimal. So we would do again, 3 into 4 goes once, 1 left over, bring down the 5. 3 into 15 goes 5 times. 3 times 5 is 15. Take away those 2, you have 0 left over. Bring down the 9. 3 into 9 goes 3 times 3 is 9. You have 9 take away 9 and 0 left over. And the final step would be to go and transpose the decimal from underneath the division sign up into your quotient, your answer, and you in fact would end up with 15.3. So that is pretty simple when the number under the division sign has a decimal in it. There's not a lot of work to do. Where it becomes problematic is when the division question has a decimal outside the division symbol. And so we're going to change this slightly to look like that. And this now brings us to the following. In order to get rid of the decimal outside the division sign, we would have to multiply this decimal 3 by 10. And that would mean the decimal would move once to the right. What you do outside, you must do inside the division sign. So we would also have to multiply by 10 here and move the new decimal to this location. So this would erase and this would erase because we had then multiplied both numbers by 10. The new decimal would be up here in the answer. And so we would go through the process exactly the same, dividing this time by 3, and we would again end up with 15.3. So the thing to remember here is you have to get rid of any decimals that are outside the division sign, and that might mean moving it once, multiplying by 10, do so underneath the decimal or the division sign as well. If you had 1.77 into 0.891271, I would have to multiply by 100 here, twice to the right. So I would have to move it twice to the right underneath. And so this 0 is no longer important in the question because the new decimal would be right there between the 9 and the 1. And I would be dividing no longer by 1.77, I would be dividing by 177. So this will get students started on 1.10 dividing numbers.